welcome to day 4, Thursday, and today we're going to look at code and prototyping apps with Keynote. Prototyping apps is one of my favourite things to do in the class, and it gets students and kids into why they should code and coming up with those ideas that may change the world or the communities around them or help people. So there is the app design cycle, which consists of brainstorming, planning, prototyping, and evaluating. When it comes to brainstorming, this is really important. We don't often take enough time to think through the ideas, but brainstorming an app before it actually goes to production or even prototype is really good because you get to talk it out, sketch it out, and come up with some potential issues. So one key example that we found this year is we had this great idea of creating an app that would link up members of the community that may be living at home alone, maybe older members, with people that could check in on them. That's great, but as you can imagine, when we brainstormed, it was the best idea ever until we realised that there would be an app out there that would actually highlight vulnerable members of the society. So we quickly abandoned that, and the eventual app did actually end up being a much better idea. But had we not talked it out and brainstormed it, it might not have been the greatest. So the next thing is planning it. So planning, I always use Keynote and a couple of templates for planning. One thing is shapes in Keynote can be really useful, and just sketching. So these are just plain squares, and you can take your Apple Pencil or a drawing and just draw your pages. What do you want to have on each screen of the app? So it can be everything from your menus, it can be a reminder for things like back buttons, forward buttons, videos, and this is something that is really super rough, really fast, takes a few minutes, but it's something that you can go back to throughout the process, and it'll remind you exactly where you're going. On the later phase, but it's also fun to do quite early, is to prototype an app icon. So using the shapes that you have in Keynote, which are in here, the square and the circle, you can pick shapes and students can just go through and say, what do I want my app icon to look like? Sometimes when the going is tough and they're struggling, it is good to just remind them of what their app would actually look like on the screen when it's done, and that can get them through to the next step. So they can just bring in the icons, arrange it around. Color schemes are really important as well, and all we have here are just some boxes that you can fill in different colors, and they can explore different color themes, and they can then vote on them, discuss them with each other, and decide on what works or doesn't work. We also have a page for dark mode because dark mode is important, and some people do like dark mode a little bit more these days. So you can discuss both color schemes and what works, and maybe there are some changes that you need. So getting onto the prototyping, you can adjust the size of your Keynote page to be the size of a phone, but for right now, just so I can work in the same document, I'm going to put in a phone. So I'm going to search a phone, and I'm going to make it the size of the screen. And when I have it the right size or color, I'm going to make it white. I can copy it, and I'm just going to do a super simple prototype here. And there we go. So this is going to be my phone, and think through my app. So one that we discussed this year was coming up with the idea of a multimedia app. So you have all these amazing stories in your community, stories from older members, parents, grandparents, neighbours, and you have students who might need work experience. So they might have skills in photo, video, music, drawing, anything, and they can be the people. And how do you get them in touch with each other? So it's a social networking kind of app that you have for this. So if we think about this, I'm just going to put some squares. This is not going to be the prettiest looking app prototype, but you can work on it. So the things that I would have on each page would be 4 options. So I'm just copying and pasting so that they're the same size. So this one is going to be a contact. This one is going to be your story. So someone will submit their story. This one here will be for skills. So something like your skills. and maybe some examples that have been created so far. So I'm going to just copy these 4 over to remind myself what I have on each of them. Oops. And my examples. Now I actually made a mistake there, so I'm actually 1 off, but that doesn't matter. So in this one, these are all going to link. So I have my story, I have my skills, I have my examples, and I'm actually missing contact because I should have had an additional page. So I'm going to put that one in there, and I'm going to put contact. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is link my boxes. So my story, if I click on a link, it will link it to a slide. So in this case, it's the next slide, but I'm actually just going to put in the numbers. So it will link to slide 8. Skills will link to slide 9. Examples will link to slide 10, and so on. Now, do you remember if you reorder the slides, it's going to break all your links. So sometimes it's a better idea to do this at the end. And this is slide 11. Now, if I just play my Keynote from the start, you can see, you click on this, it'll go into the story. I'm stuck. I don't have any back button in there, but I will put one in a moment. So I'm just going to show you another one of those, the skills. Now we're in the skills. So I have to go back. That does, however, teach students navigation. How many apps have you opened where you get stuck inside a page? It's really, really annoying. So here we might have something like a back arrow. Again, you can make this prettier than I'm making it. And you could copy that on each page. So again, link that in. So I'm going to link them all back to slide 7. Now, so your story, and I can go back. So navigation is really important. Ideas that you can do with this, I've seen a lot of them from ones where students want people to understand that they're going to an Irish language school. So they have some information in here. I've had hiking app prototypes, ones to deliver food to older people. I've had ones where students want to imagine all the shopping you have in your fridge and take a picture of them, and it would magically bring up your recipes. Wouldn't that be amazing? So you can go through all the different shapes that you have. Shapes and links and even drawings are all you need. So all I'm actually showing you there is how to add a shape and how to link it. I want people to use their imaginations and share their examples with us when you're done. So when you're finished, it is really important to evaluate it. Was your app easy to use? Why or why not? So maybe you forgot to put a navigation button in there and you got stuck. Then it wasn't easy to use. Maybe you should go back and fix that. Were you ever confused? Was there something that you just had in there that really didn't make sense after a while? Maybe take it out. Would you like to add or take away something from the app? Maybe you didn't know how to do something, so you could just write in there. And would you use the app? If you wouldn't use your own app, then why are you going to go and make it? And do you see opportunities to simplify the app idea? So some of the best apps out there are the super simple apps that you download. They're ones that you use without very much skill. One of the best examples that advice that my students were given was make an app. Don't make an app that everyone loves. Make an app that people can't live without. And it's something they were told about a year ago, and it's something I remind them when they're coding them, to just make that app that everybody's gonna want and need and talk to their friends about. So that's a couple of steps on how to prototype. Put in those links, put in those shapes, and make and share with us. that's all for today, and tomorrow we will be looking at GarageBand and making music with some of the items that you have around the house.